Hey guys, Stealth here. You're looking at it. Challenger 2. It's the tier 9. Currently the highest tier you can get to. And this is the vehicle that I have been power grinding towards pretty much for the last 3 weeks, I think. And it is a very, very nice looking machine. Performance-wise, I'm not too sure, and this won't be a full review. I'm going to very, very quickly go over the stats. I'm going to show you PvE content because personally I'm not comfortable enough telling you how to perform with this vehicle in PvP. I just don't do that well with it. As for the quick stats, let's go over the armor first. The armor on this thing is, I believe, currently the highest in the game. Frontal armor is 953 millimeters, and this is versus AP. This amount of armor is on the turret. Hull is slightly less armored at 728, but still with the angling it's going to make it very hard for people to penetrate you. But the real element of this thing, especially if you have the ERA package, which you can see installed on this tank, is going to give this 1395 millimeters of effective turret armor. Guys, we're talking about more than 1.5 meter, sorry, a little under 1.5 meters of armor. The gun is both good and bad. The best round that you can get is this AP round, and the AP round has a penetration of 518. If you're coming from the Ariete with its little under 600 pen, this is quite the setback. The exchange is that you're going to get a little bit more damage and a very, very good rate of fire, as well as having a very nice accuracy spread. But more on the full review later. I don't have a lot of retrofits for this vehicle unlocked yet. I can get a general retrofit slot in here, and other than that I have 2 armors and 1 firepower, but I don't have them unlocked yet, and that's going to take a while. Because unlocking a an armor retrofit slot is going to take me 118,000 XP. That's taking a while. Other than that, these things are bloody expensive. A retrofit for, let's say, firepower. Let's say I wanted to go with augmented breach lock here in order to reduce my reload and improve my maximum accuracy or minimum accuracy, whatever they call it these days. You're paying 4.2 million credits in order to install one of those. If you wanted to go with enhanced shell materials, have a little bit more accuracy on the move, we're talking 3.2 million. Now compare that to what you can actually get for 3.2 million. And let's say the 4 million upgrade is a tier 6 tank. The 3.2 million upgrade is almost 2 tier 5 tanks. So this is how expensive these things tend to get. Anyway, that's it for the review right now. So let's go into the PvE mode and show you just exactly how much this thing can bounce, because that is something that this tank really, really does very well. Alright, it's time for Operation Kodiak. And Kodiak is the one which plays on, I'm going to say the port map, because it looks a little bit like Port Storm, with a few adjustments of course. Now this map, you can get tank spawns pretty much everywhere around you. I've seen it happen, and especially if you're in an IF3, or sorry, an AFV as they call them here, or a scout vehicle, it's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt a lot. The Challenger just does not have that problem. Unless you get really unlucky, or the AI just keeps spamming HE at you, you are very unlikely to take a lot of damage with this thing. Now, as you can see, it's not the fastest. But hey, we're talking about a vehicle that's ferrying approximately 1.5 meter like armor across the battlefield. And yes, I know it's composite armor, it's not actually 1.5 meters of frontal armor, but it's close. Now, unfortunately, this tank does not get heat ammunition. You may have been using it on the Ariete, especially if you were playing PvE in order to do quite a bit of damage. This tank just does not get it. I'm not sure if they're going to change that later. I think it has to do with the gun, but I'm no expert on that. Now we're just taking on some light vehicles. I mean, autocannons are never really going to penetrate this thing, unless they get your rear. That's something I have noticed, unless they get your rear. Now let's ram this thing to death as I'm picking a new target. Not gonna hit that warrior, he's too low hit points, I'm gonna ram him as well. So far it's not really a lot of high value targets yet, or high armor targets. And you can see that the accuracy on the tank is really nice. Gun handling on this vehicle is very good. But with the low penetration, or low-ish penetration, it tends to struggle to penetrate main battle tanks. Especially frontally, this thing just does not pen battle tanks unless you're going for weak spots. Now an M8 round straight to the face, but it just did not do anything. Now that M1A2 that I was firing at had its armor slightly angled, and that was enough for my round to bounce off of him. That's something that I have noticed a lot with this vehicle. It just tends to bounce off, unless you get a really flat angle. And that is something that in PvP could hinder you. At least I haven't really figured out all the weak spots yet on the main battle tanks. Say the other tier 9s like the 2A6, the T90 MS, stuff like that. I just don't really know exactly where to shoot yet. Which means that I end up either charging too far forwards and getting killed. Yes, I get killed despite all of this armor. Or the enemy is going to get a lot of hash rounds from me, and I end up not doing as much damage as I could have. Because hash, let's face it, it's pretty much a beefed up HE round. It's never going to do that much damage. Now talking about spawns right next to you. That was one. With the tank composition that we have here, the team setup, we are never going to be able to capture those comm stations, so I'm not even going to bother. What I will do is draw fire from this Ramka. See, even the side armor of a Ramka, and of course Ramkas are always very heavily armored, but they're still, I believe, a T90 hull. I should be able to go through the sides of the hull of a T90. But, I don't know. I just always seem to bounce off of these bastards. Let's take out that warrior. I'm not sure what the RD is up to here. Heat rounds, of course, would have done about 700 to 800 damage, especially in this tier. Oh, you gotta be kidding. But without heat rounds, you're gonna have only AP as your main firepower. And of course hash, but you know, as mentioned, they're not that effective. Now, the Challenger is the most heavily armored vehicle in the game. Look at my incoming damage counter. The only damage that I took was from ramming other vehicles. So far, nothing has been able to penetrate the armor on this tank, and they have had some pretty decent angles at it. I have to keep in mind that there is an Abrams here, so I'm going to go for him instead. Pretty much a fire on the move around there. Actually, I managed to hit the target as well, and penetrate it, because I was flat onto its side. And what I have found with the Challenger to be really good is firing on the move. Not all of the vehicles in this line were really good at doing that, but the Challenger 2 can pull it off. And as you can see, I'm going to stop the tank here. There, fully zoomed in. Of course, this is really nice for hitting weak spots, but at this speed, and this is 28, 30, 30-ish, the targeting reticule doesn't seem to bloom that much. It doesn't go that big. And that is considering that I have a damaged gun, which means that my targeting time's increased. So, especially while sitting still, this is going to hurt me, but on the move, it's not going to really affect me that much. But the fact that the gun does get damaged will make it, especially in PvP, really difficult to fire at weak spots, because this tank just does not do popping out very easily. It's big, it's bulky, it's not fast, although for its size, it is pretty maneuverable. But with damaged tracks, it gets sluggish. Not really sure what the modifier or the penalty is for having damaged tracks. Let's have a look at that. Damaged tracks, it doesn't really say anything, but I think that either the tracks fly off more easily, or you do less, you have a lower hull traverse. I bounced off the M8 Thunderbolt there. That's a bit annoying. He's going to be killed by the other ones. BMP4. So here, at BMD4, I would love to shoot a heat into him in order to do about 700 to 800 damage. No joy. Heat round not found. 368 damage. Again, I have not taken any actual firepower damage or main gun damage. Not really sure what you would want to call that. This is, for me, the only tank that I have managed to do that with. The Challenger 1, while being very, very heavily armored, does seem to take damage from other vehicles more easily. Now, trying to find a weak spot on this vehicle, I'm going to go for the viewport. Damaged it instead. As I mentioned, not really familiar with all the weak points yet, but the lower hull armor, look at this. It's going to bounce off. The lower frontal plate, I cannot really penetrate there. So I'm going to try and find another position. This might work, but it seems to be very small. No pen. At least this guy's looking at me now. The good thing is that I'm not the only one who was struggling, because that Leopard took quite a few shots from us. And I'm not talking about me, but I'm talking about the Ariettis that were with me, and the M1, I'm not sure what it was, sorry, a T90. And there was even a T90 MS, so those things are nefarious for having tremendously high firepower and penetration. Even that thing couldn't really go through the frontal side of a Leopard 2A6. So with that, it's a really, really good tank. However, your penetration is lacking. You're going to notice that. Now, looking at the armor, I actually took 71 hits, and of course there was some autocannon fire and that, so it's going to be a little less spectacular. But 71 hits, it's not bad, considering that I only took 213 damage, and that was from ramming stuff. Anyway, another PvE. Let's see if there's another one coming up. Oh right, the oil refinery. I'm going to pause it here and load it back in once the game has started. Alright, Operation Banshee. I'm going to recapture this oil refinery. And again, targets can spawn all around, which is something that the Challenger 2 just doesn't really seem to care about. Of course, unless a T90 MS spawns right behind you, you're in a bit of trouble. Other than that, it's not too bad. The one thing that I don't think that the Challenger 2 really excels in right here, but it shares that element with any other main battle tank, is being able to turn quickly. You're going to find that the Challenger is, I'm not going to say sluggish, and I know that is not an AFV or a recon vehicle, but they take their sweet time moving and getting into position. Now, I was going at pretty much full speed here when I engaged the warrior, and even with that speed I was still pretty accurate, and I managed to hit that thing square on. Let's get the arty. Ouch. Unfortunately that thing can... Ooh! 2 M8 rounds to the flank. The Challenger 2 is good, but it's not that good. Those things have very high penetration, those Thunderbolts. And moreover, I'm probably going to be taking fire from a tank that's going to spawn behind me. Oh, T90 MS even. BMP4 spawned in front of me. There it is, T90 spawned right behind me. I don't want that thing shooting in my rear. And you can see that the gun depression on the Challenger 2 is not the best. Especially if you're aiming over your engine block, you're not going to be able to get that gun down as low as you need it to go. Most of the time. That was the end of the Leopard. Get the Abrams. Superior M1A1, I was behind the train there. I thought you were dead. There. But those couple of side shots that I took, as you can see, I even melted off some ERA blocks there. And that's the darkened side of the tank. Those M8s really pulled a number on me. And that did a lot of damage. I lost half my hit points. Bounced off. Should have aimed slightly more towards the side and the rear of the tank. And I always try to get this thing on fire by aiming for the engine block. Again, no penetration by almost firing at the T90 MS flat on. And now I'm in actual trouble because now I cannot really penetrate it that well. Just doing 210 damage. Because the turret hatch or the gunner's hatch doesn't really seem to take that much damage. Just look at how fast that thing can turn around. The Challenger 2 can really learn something from that sort of turret and hull traverse. I doubt I'm going to be able to pen that. Yeah, barely. He's probably going to burn up. This Beam D4 is not going to be capable of doing a lot of damage from the front, but the HE frag can damage your modules. And it usually starts to add up once you start to take more HE damage. I found that the gun on the Challenger 2, especially in PvP, gets knocked out quite often. But I'm not sure how bad that is in comparison to the other vehicles. So now my gun took another massive hit there. And by just running into this thing, I tracked him, or I actually killed him and tracked myself. Yeah, not fast enough stealth. Gotta be faster than that. Tracked me again. But I'd rather be tracked and sitting still here than taking another 400 or 500 damaging hit. See, so long as these thunderbolts are coming from the front of the tank or shooting at the front of the tank, I'm perfectly fine. The moment they start to gang up on me and start to try and flank me, that's when the situation could go bad really quickly. Damaged his ammo rack. He's going to be taking a bit longer to reload now. Let's take the warrior instead. Slightly more of a threatening target at the moment. And there's still an M8 somewhere behind this oil drum. So if I move up too aggressively without taking out that M8, I'm going to be taking side shots again. Ooh, hello Thunderbolt. Let's hope I can turn around back. Yep, there you go. Barely though. And there's a lot of Thunderbolts spawning now. Usually when you get a big spawn, it includes one or multiple Ramkas or Terminators, but I don't know. They must all be out. Challenger 2. This thing is pretty much the PvE equivalent of my own tank. And I don't think that I can penetrate him. At least not frontally. If I rush up to him, I'm going to expose the sides of my armor. Which is not something I'm looking forward to. Another tracking round there. There's a big spawn happening now. T90. Penetrate it. Thunderbolts out. Let's see about the damage. I'm sitting at 11.5. The other Challenger 2 is slitting slightly higher at 12. Ramka on my left. Oh, he's showing his engine block. Come on, turn back, sunshine. No? Okay, I'll take out your turret then. See, I'm not actually worried about getting hit in the side of the turret of the Challenger 2, because it is really hard to penetrate that armor. Moreover, I have a cage armor around it, as you can see. And the cage armor... Oh, actually that took out my gun. The cage armor is going to make it very, very difficult for ATGMs to penetrate this vehicle. Another bounce there. I'm going to start pushing up aggressively here. I don't want to trigger the cap yet. Just want to light up some more targets. So any targets I light up are also going to add to my registered damage, damage potential, etc. Now the warrior here almost has flat on side armor, but it still does not go through. My armor is still slightly angled, and that little angling... Oh, that hurt. That little angling did save me. Yeah, I'm getting shot in the side by a T-90. Lost 700 hit points there. These things can and will hurt you. Unfortunately, I only tracked this guy, but he's out. Hammerhead took him out. See, if that would have been a, let's say, player-manned warrior, he should and probably would have tried to flank the Challenger that I'm driving. And by doing that, he would have been actually able to do quite a bit of damage. Because I might not have been able to get my gun down low enough. He's out. Challenger on Challenger. But he has a M1A2 off his rear. 213 damage. Lost the track again. Tracked again. No pen on the hatch this time. But he's showing the side of his turret towards the rear, and that's where you don't really have that much armor. There's another T-90 back there. Let's see, yep, the other Challenger's still sitting at more damage than I am. I gotta say, I'm impressed by the damage output from the Leopard 2A5. Or sorry, from the artillery. The Leopard 2A5 has actually done less damage than the artillery. Wonderful, tracked him again. That's going to be an assist, but of course I would have loved to kill that guy myself. Now at this time I'm going to be playing it a bit defensively, because I would really hate to lose this battle or to get less XP for this battle by dying soon. And we do have all the pump stations, so that's good. There's another Thunderbolt. Jesus, the AI really loves to use these things today. It's all perfectly fine for me, because Thunderbolts are pretty damn easy to penetrate. If you get unlucky, you can bounce off their armor, but it's not... It just doesn't happen that often. He does bounce off of me, and the Leopard 2A5 is going to get a very good shot on his rear. Something did shoot into my rear there, but bounced. Come on. This guy apparently loves being wedged in. He's not going anywhere. What the hell? The Leopard 2A5 bounced off the M8? Really? I thought I could do a ram kill there. Okay, got it. Another victory, but hey, it's PvP. Sorry, PvE, it's not that hard. Let's wait for the result screen. Alright, another nice 5,000 XP, 69,000 credits. And that actually translates to net credits income, because ammo and repairs don't have to be paid for. Now what I'm interested in this match is how well my armor deflected stuff. I took 2,500 points of damage. I'd mitigated 20,000. And that's why the game is telling me that I have a damage mitigation ratio of 8. Sometimes this is going to be a bit weird, so only this is a really interesting number for me. 20,586 points of damage mitigated. Let's see what the other guys on the team did. Yeah, look at that. Hammerhead and his Challenger 2 did 4,000 points of damage more than I did, as well as spotting 2 more targets, but I got mostly assists. Anyway, I hope at least that with this I gave you a bit of an idea of how the Challenger 2 can perform in PvE. As mentioned, I'll be doing another separate video with a full review on it, PvP conflicts and fighting in or against other players like that. For now, I'm just not there yet. I have been playing PvP with this vehicle, usually end up getting killed quickly, not doing a lot of damage, and of course everything is heavily armored at this tier. So actually having very much armor and not so much penetration is gonna hurt this vehicle. Simply because others might still be able to penetrate your weak spots, but you are gonna struggle to penetrate their weak spots. But anyway, all of that and more on it will be up probably sometime next week. I'm not sure when. At least I hope you enjoyed this gameplay a bit. If you did, please hit the like button, and if you're not subscribed yet and you don't want to miss the actual Challenger 2 review, be sure to subscribe and I'll have that up sometime next week. Thanks for watching, have a good weekend, and I'll see you next time.